Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Franchise Player. I'm in Japan. I haven't been to Japan in like 2 years. It's been a minute. And back in Tokyo, we're going to do some game hunting today, hit some hard offs, some other kind of secondhand stores we can find, and hopefully pick up some cool retro games, man. So this is going to be a fun one. Sit back, relax, crack a beer, sip a coffee, drink some tea, do your thing. And yeah, stay tuned. This is going to be a fun one. Hopefully, we'll get some good stuff. All right, so our first stop of the day is going to be a hard off, and I think upstairs there's a hobby off as well. So if you're unfamiliar with what hard off is, it's a chain of stores here in Japan that basically sells secondhand hardware. So computers, phones, tablets, video games, retro games, consoles, accessories, pretty much everything you can think of in the tech world they have. And what's really cool is each one is different. Each one is going to have different inventory, so you never really know what you're going to get. But yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm super, super happy to be back in Tokyo. Beautiful day out today, nice and sunny, not too chilly, got a full stomach, and ready to do some game hunting. So yeah, let's get it. So right as you walk into this hard off, they have pretty much all of the sought after Pokemon games that people love, CIB and loose. I wasn't exactly too stoked to see that. Like, it's cool to see all the games, right? But when I saw that, I was like, the prices here are probably not going to be too great. Probably, preying on the tourists a bit. And, it is what it is, man. You can't hate the hustle. It's business. And, they're just taking advantage probably of their location. But regardless, really cool to see some of these games. Like Pokemon Pinball on GBA Inbox, definitely a cool one to see. That N64 controller in the back is pretty sick. Some handhelds and some more handhelds. So Game Boy Colors, original Game Boys, GBAs. Like I said, the prices here are not fantastic. Keep in mind, at least when I'm filming this, 10,000 yen is equal to like 65 or 66 US dollars. So the exchange rate is still pretty good, but the prices here on these systems and games was not too great, but they did have a pretty good selection overall. And right here, they had kind of some more just common Game Boy games. And right here, we have Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is one I actually want to get, but I think I may be able to find it a little cheaper later on. 2,200 yen seems a little steep for a game that common, so I'll try to find it later on. Right here, we have some really cool stuff. We have some Vitas and some PSPs. So I was always really jealous of Japan because they always got some of the coolest colorways for the PSPs and the Vitas. And overall, I mean, these handhelds were just way more popular in Japan than the US, especially the Vita. PSP had a ton of success in the US, but man, two of my favorite handhelds of all time. And I don't know, it's just awesome to see so many of them in real life now since they're harder to come by in the States. And right here, a couple SNK games. That's pretty cool to see. I've gotten, I'd say fairly into SNK and Neo Geo stuff over the past year or so. Just amazing games from a dope era. And right here, some 3DS stuff. Super common. Pokemon Y. That seems a little high for Pokemon Y on 3DS, but could be wrong. I don't really collect 3DS games since I have a modded 3DS. And then right here, this series I actually think is pretty underrated. It's called Starfy, and I think there's a couple of them on GBA and DS. But yeah, this is a cool little platformer. So if you like platformers, definitely worth checking out. And right here, this is a baseball game that is exclusive to Japan. I should have picked this up last time I was in Japan, but yeah, I think I'm going to scoop this one up. So unfortunately, that hard off was pretty big L. I did pick something up, but the prices in there were just ridiculous, dude. Probably kind of a touristy area, so it is what it is. But yeah, we'll hit another one up, and hopefully we can find some cool shit. Now we're headed over to Akihabara, which is, if you don't know, basically the retro gaming mecca, in my opinion. And a lot of tourists come to this area, so prices are not going to be amazing. But one thing I will say is the selection in Akihabara is always great. So Condition is of course going to be on point as well, just with it being Japan. Used games are pretty much always in great condition, but yeah, keep in mind pricing's not going to be great here, but the selection and amount of retro stores is just insane. Before going into a lot of the shops, I wanted to check out kind of what they had outside in these little like bargain type bins, and a lot of these games can be had for less than $5 easily. And over here it looks like they had a 3DS game, good old Monster Hunter, and 300 yen. I think that is literally $2 right now with the exchange rate, so 2 USD. Super Smash Bros. Melee for 500. I think that's going to be $3 and some change. You know, mind you, these bargain bin games out here aren't in the best condition in the world, but for a few bucks, it's really hard to pass some of these up. I ended up walking inside and wanted to check out the basement level of the store first. So this was kind of like underground, underneath the main level, and they had a decent amount of systems here. Right here, you know, got a good old Sega Saturn. That's a system I really want to explore some more. And they had some Wii's, a Wii U, nothing really too crazy, but down here they had these like little drawers or cubbies with kind of some loose controllers. I was looking for some PS3 controllers, specifically, you know, a good condition DualShock 3, just because at least here in the States, most of the PS3 controllers I find are either super beat up or they're just straight up fakes. So yeah, definitely on the hunt for some PS3 controllers. But right here we have a Xbox 360 graveyard, just a bunch of the older, you know, OG fat Xbox 360s. It's, you know, pretty nostalgic to see those. Made my way back up to the main level of the store here, and they had a decent amount of handhelds and consoles on display. Nothing here that, you know, I really wanted to take home with me. Price-wise, once again, it didn't really look like anything to write home about. You know, fairly expensive. GBAs, GBA SPs even. I would love to get another GBA SP, specifically a 101, just because the screens on those are awesome and look great even today. But what I really liked was this Death Stranding PS4 Pro. That thing looks sick. One thing I'll say is the PS4 definitely had some really cool special editions. Next up here, we actually hit one of my favorite retro game stores in Japan that I've been to, and this is also in Akihabara. It's Retro Game Camp. So I first discovered Retro Game Camp when I went to Japan about 2 years back. And last time I was here in Japan, I had picked up a PSP, but I really needed a new battery, a charger, and a memory card. And I know for a fact I ended up getting the memory card here at Retro Game Camp. Outside of the store, they kind of have some discounted, more of like bargain type bin games, just to kind of, you know, get some eyes on the place and bring people in. And then they have this monitor right here that has, you know, the original Pokemon Blue showing on there, just to once again grab some attention. But inside of the store is awesome, dude. Downstairs, they have more of kind of the older, you know, cartridge-based systems. Then upstairs, you'll have some more modern stuff and disc-based systems. So yeah, great selection here. The pricing, once again, not the best in the world, but I really don't mind at all because their selection here is incredible. Now, right as you walk into Retro Game Camp, on the right-hand side across from the register, you have a really good selection of original Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games. Right here, you got, you know, good old Harvest Moon. I loved playing Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town on my GBA. Sank countless hours into that as a kid. And then, you know, right here, you got good old Rockman, you know, Mega Man as it's known in the States. So yeah, really good selection of games here. And, you know, the pricing, like I said, it's not like thrift store or secondhand pricing, but, you know, you have an amazing selection at your fingertips. So if you're wanting to save some time and just come in here and get something you're looking for, you know, Retro Game Camp is definitely going to have you covered. I actually ended up picking up couple different games here, so stay tuned until the end to see what games I picked up. Right here they had a Wario Land 4 on GBA for, you know, a little over 1,200 yen, so like 12, 13 bucks. I didn't think that was too bad of a deal. But one thing I wanted to show off on their Game Boy games is they actually replace the batteries on these, so you know when you're buying it, like, hey, the game is going to save and you don't have to worry about it, which is pretty cool. Decided to wander upstairs here and see what they had for some of their more modern systems, like, you know, 3DS, PSP, Vita, and, you know, decent selection of handhelds here. I was mainly looking at PSP stuff. I was actually looking to see if they had any PSP movies for one of my buddies. He's a pretty big collector of PSP movies too. Handful of memory cards there. I thought it was cool that they're always colored back in the day. And before heading out of here, I wanted to check out the GameCube selection a bit. I don't collect for GameCube, but I know a lot of people do, so I thought somebody would maybe want to check this out and see what they had. But I always thought it was cool, the packaging and boxes that the GameCube games came in, at least compared to what we got here in the States. And I remember seeing this Sonic collection like constantly back in the day when I was a kid. I think it was always in one of those like Player's Choice bins where it was, pretty much on sale. Naruto Clash of Ninja 2, I think that was. Looks like a Harvest Moon game there. And yeah, I don't think there's any of the high dollar amount GameCube games out here. And then the last game I took a look at here just to kind of show off was Genji. I thought the cover was super sick here, at least compared to the one in North America. So that's going to do it for day one here of game hunting. Going to go head out, grab something to eat, getting a little hungry, a little thirsty, and there's more stuff to do in Japan other than hunt games. So I'll be back out tomorrow hunting for some more games, hitting some more shops. But yeah, going to go grab some food and just kind of chill out. All right, so day two of game hunting here in Tokyo. Had a couple too many drinks last night, so walking down to 7-Eleven right now. Gonna grab a coffee, gonna grab probably a Pocari Sweat, get hydrated, and hit the streets for some games, and hopefully we'll find some cool stuff. So yeah, let's pray to the game gods that we find some heat. Probably only gonna hit one or two stores today just because I still have to get some souvenirs for like friends and family and stuff. So yeah, probably one or two more shops today, and it'll be pretty low-key. And the first store we're hitting up today is actually not a retro shop. We're inside basically what is a very large department store called Bic Camera, and I'm on, at least at this location, the 8th floor, and it is filled with electronics, games, collectibles, figures, trading cards. I mean, anything you could want, they pretty much have here, and it's really cool. I mean, it really reminds me of kind of what electronic stores used to be like, at least here in the US in like the early 2000s. It has a really cool vibe to it, and tons of new games, as you can see. These Bic Camera stores really seem to have pretty much everything. I know certain sections or certain levels of the stores will have like home appliances, so like refrigerators, washers, dryers, that kind of thing, and I think they'll even have a level for like makeup, that kind of stuff for the ladies, and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, this is the section I always go to. It's going to have all the electronics, all the video games, and a pretty good selection of accessories too. So if you don't want to order something on Amazon and you just want to actually see what it looks like in person, a store like this is definitely your best bet. But pretty good selection of PS5 games, but definitely interested to see what they have for Switch. So I'm going to walk over there and see what they have. A pretty decent looking Nintendo Switch collection right off the bat. Right here it looks like they have pretty much all the mainline popular titles, your Zeldas, Marios, things like that. But right here you have Pokemon Scarlet, and I think this actually has the DLC on the cartridge. So if you are a physical collector, if you like collecting physical Nintendo Switch games, you might want to go for a version like that has DLC on the cart. And I want to say there's a Mario Kart version as well that also has like all the DLC and updates on a cart, so that's a little more sought after. So time to look here on the other side of the aisle, and I was pretty happy to see that this store had a nice selection of kind of more under the radar games. Right here you had the Sikyo Shooting Library Volume 2. This is a game I've had my eye on for a minute, dude. I was thinking of getting it off PlayAsia a while ago, but just didn't pull the trigger, and they had it here. This is a basically shooting compilation of good shmups, and it has Gunbird 1 and 2 on it, so I think this is probably going to be a pickup for me. And right here we have Darius. Darius is a long-running franchise. It's a great shmup series. I love the one on Vita, and I don't know, just the enemies are great. The soundtracks in those games are always super dope. And right here we have Dodonpachi. I forget which one this is, but Dodonpachi is a really great shmup series. Really thinking about picking this one up. I've had my eye on this one for a minute too, but I was surprised. This Bic Camera looked to have a pretty decent selection of shmups. Right here, I think this is the Telnet shooting collection. Could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And this also has a bunch of shmups on it, so pretty cool to see that in a store as well. I never see that in the States. And then what else do they have? Right here, it looks like they have Drainus. This is another shmup. I don't know how good it is, but I've seen some gameplay online, and I've thought about grabbing this before too. Dipping at a Bic Camera now, and highly recommend Bic Camera if you're ever in Japan. Really cool spot, tons of great games, Great spot to hunt for, newer games and see what's out there, but gonna head over to a book off now and see what I can find. So off the jump, this book off, they had this kind of like discount section up front of just lower cost games, and price wise, this is definitely what I was looking to spend on GBA games. If you've been watching the channel for a little while, you probably know that I love the PS Vita, and unfortunately it didn't get a ton of love in the US, but in Japan, I mean, the games are plentiful to say the least. This God Eater is 500 yen, which is like $3, $4, something like that, so insanely cheap. Dragon Quest Builders here. Not a game I'm interested in. Dragon Quest isn't really my thing, but 1100 yen is insanely cheap. It's just, I don't know, it's always kind of sad to see, how well the Vita did in Japan compared to the US. I've been on the hunt for some cheap PS3 controllers and finally found some here in this junk section. So I used Google Translate and it said that there was like defects with the controllers or something like that. But I figured for 500 yen, scoop both of these up and that would be like $6, $7. Yeah, what, $6 or $7 for two PS3 controllers? Definitely willing to roll the dice on that. Brought it up to the register, asked the dude if he knew if anything was wrong with it, and he just said, hey, it's junk, it's not tested. And I was like, hey, whatever, I'll roll the dice. Ended up hitting a couple other stores throughout my trip. Went to this Book Off Express. There really wasn't anything too crazy there, so I ended up not even filming inside. And yeah, I mean, there was really not too much else to show off at some of these stores, but I ended up picking up a decent amount of games, so I'll catch you guys back in the States, and I'll show you what I got. Back in the US, the jet lag is real. Starting to get back in the swing of the things, sleep schedule wise. Got a little sick during travel. You know how it is going on vacations. You usually probably catch something on a plane. But yeah, time to check out these pickups that I got. I'll go over the stuff from Hard Off, Retro Game Camp, Book Off, and Bic Camera. Took notes on it and kind of what it translates to in US dollar, just so you have an idea of basically what I bought it for. But first off, we actually have the only PS Vita pickup that I got while I was there, and that's going to be Professional Baseball Spirits 2019. This is a game that I really should have got last time I was in Japan, and really interesting because it's a Japanese exclusive baseball game, right? It's the Japanese Baseball League, it's not MLB. They stopped making MLB The Show in the US on Vita in 2015, so this game must have been pretty popular in Japan because it ran, another 4 years. So really curious to see how this holds up and kind of battles against MLB The Show. Graphics wise, it looks pretty good, and yeah, super excited to check this out. This ended up being, what, it was 1100 yen, so as of today, that's like $7.26, so pretty cheap. Found it cheaper later on, but at the end of the day, it's like, if you save $1, I mean, who really cares? But yeah, definitely stoked to try this one out. So next up, I have the Retro Game Camp pickups that I got, and Retro Game Camp is an awesome store. If you're ever in Akihabara, highly recommend Retro Game Camp. But let's get right into these pickups, man. Got some pretty good stuff. Actually picked up one N64 title. I don't really collect for N64. I did buy one, a while back, and it is cool to pick up games here and there, especially since I modded mine to be able to play Japanese games as well. But I picked up Pocket Monsters Stadium. So you might look at this and you'll be like, all right, whatever, Pokemon Stadium. But this is actually the first Pokemon Stadium. So the first one that we got in the US is technically the second one. The one that was the second one in Japan, they released in the US as the first one. So this is entirely in Japanese, and I think there's only like 40 something Pokemon in this, so there's not all 151, but I thought this was a cool pickup, super cheap, kind of a piece of Pokemon history. And this ended up coming out to how much in US dollars? So 780 yen. This ended up being like $5.15. So, roughly $5 for a pretty clean N64 game. Yeah, pretty hard to beat, man. So that was a cool one. Next up, what do we have here? We have Kirby's Dream Land 2. So this is a cool one, Kirby's Dream Land 2. Love Kirby games. Kirby's probably my favorite Nintendo franchise. I've always loved Kirby ever since I was a kid, and Kirby's Dream Land 2 is one I've wanted physically for a while. Definitely a bit pricier in the States, but this was, what, 1480 yen, so that comes out to, what, like $9.76, and then also it looks like they had changed the battery too, so that was a bit of a selling point for me too. I'm like, hey, I'll pay a couple extra bucks for this and have the peace of mind that the battery works. So yeah, this is a cool one, great condition as well. So definitely didn't want to pass up on that. And next up here, I have another Game Boy Advance game, and this is actually one of the pricier games I got on the trip. And luckily Retro Game Camp had it. This game is pretty hard to find. It came out fairly late in the Game Boy Advance life cycle, and that's going to be Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure. This is a really fun game. Had it back when I was a kid, and who even knows what happened to my original Game Boy Advance games, that collection I had when I was a kid. Maybe it was like given away to a cousin, a neighbor, who knows. But yeah, had it when I was a kid, wanted to pick this up again, and pretty cool to be able to find a copy in Japan. This was, what, 4,580 yen, so that comes out to, well, like a hair over 30 bucks, which, you know, even this being $30 is still way cheaper than a copy would be here in the US. I know I want to say they're at least like 60 or 70 bucks here in the US. If you've never played this game, it's basically a side-scrolling, platforming beat 'em up in the Dragon Ball verse. And it's pretty cool, man. It's a fun game. I have it on an emulator and it just doesn't hit the same. So I wanted to pick it up and, you know, play it on a physical Game Boy or a DS just to have the buttons, because I don't know, playing this game on a touchscreen kind of sucks if you don't have a controller to connect to it. So yeah, this game, about 30 bucks. I think it was definitely worth it, and looking forward to playing it again. And a couple more pickups from Retro Game Camp to go through here. And the next one is Pokemon Pearl. So complete in box, and got this for what, $29.80? So 29.80 yen comes out to a hair under 20 bucks. It's like $19 and some change. This is definitely going to be just kind of a cool piece to have in the collection. If I want to play Pokemon Pearl, I'll just play it probably on my R4 card or an emulator, but definitely cool to have complete in box. I had Pokemon Pearl when I was a kid, and Gen 4 was really the last generation of Pokemon that I had sank time into and really got back into. So kind of wanting to go back to some of the older Pokemon games, man. Go back and, you know, explore some generations I never explored, maybe like Gen 5 and things like that. So yeah, Pokemon Pearl, not too bad. I ended up finding this cheaper later on for like 2,000 yen, but I had already picked this up, so it is what it is. But yeah, super minty, and glad to have it in the collection. And this is gonna be my last pickup from Retro Game Camp, and then we'll go on to the other stores, but that's gonna be Wario Land 4. Hopefully it's focusing so you can actually see it. But ended up getting this for what, 1,280 yen. So that comes out to $8.44. So not bad. I think the Wario Land games are awesome. They always kind of get overshadowed by Mario. And yeah, hopefully we'll see another Wario game eventually. I think the Wario series is pretty fun. So next up, we'll take a look at some of my Switch pickups and a couple games I got at Bic Camera. And then we'll take a look at my book off pickups as well. So first up, I ended up getting a shmup that I've wanted for a long time, and that is Batsugun Saturn Tribute Boosted. So this is a game that I've seen on Play Asia. I've seen it on YouTube, looked at gameplay, and looks like a great shmup, man. So super stoked to try this out. Definitely watched a lot of gameplay of it, and I don't remember how much this was. I want to say it was maybe like 30 bucks, but definitely a cool one to have in the collection, and excited to break this open and give it a shot. And then another one, you can probably guess what I picked up at Bic Camera, but that'd be the Sikyo Shooting Library Volume 2. Mainly got this to play Gunbird 1 and 2. The Gunbird games are hella expensive, even on like Dreamcast. They're really pricey. I want to say they're between like 80 and 120, something like that. So to have this on the Switch, have, you know, Gunbird 1 and 2 on here along with some other good shmups, definitely cool to have. And it's another good game to have because you don't need to know Japanese, right? It's a shmup. No need to know the language. Pretty much, you know, navigate through the levels and you know, destroy as much as you can. So yeah, super stoked to pick these two up from Bic Camera. This one I actually didn't pick up in Japan, but it's also a Switch game, so I figured I'd throw it in. But I got this when I was back into the States. I thought about getting this in Japan, but I wanted to have it in English, and that's the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. This was a really cool one, man. I have the other Capcom Fighting Collection, but the Marvel vs. Capcom one was a total must, man. You have a ton of bangers on here, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. There's a Punisher game on here that looks really fun too. And I guess what's really cool, I haven't opened this yet, but there's supposed to be a comic in here as well. So yeah, definitely excited to play this. Ton of great classic fighters, so definitely worth picking up. This is on PS4 as well, so if you don't want it on Switch, you can pick it up on PS4. All right, so last but not least here, we're gonna check out the pickups I got at Book Off. And next up is going to be Pokemon Blue. So hopefully this actually focuses here. But yeah, Pokemon Blue was actually like the second Pokemon game to come out in Japan. You had the original Red and Green, and then Blue came out later on that had refined like some sprites, and I think it had fixed some glitches. But I actually got this as a gift for a friend, so this isn't going in my collection. I'm gonna give it to one of the homies. I know he's wanted this, or at least a Japanese Pokemon game for a while. So yeah, pretty cool, man. 1,800 yen, that came out to a little under 12 bucks. So way cheaper than a lot of the other stores were selling it for. So wanted to scoop that up. And then also from Book Off, to continue on the Pokemon pickups, we have Pokemon Silver. I ended up getting Pokemon Silver for 900 yen. So 900 yen, that is, a little under 6 bucks, like 5 bucks and some change. I'm not sure if the save battery in this works, but I pretty much just bought it as a souvenir, especially for like 5 or 6 bucks. So probably won't actually play it on the cart. I'll probably play Silver on my 3DS if I'm like itching to play an old Gen 2 Pokemon game, but definitely cool to have this. It's really a nice souvenir, and for the price, didn't really want to pass up on it. And the last pickup I have here, also from Book Off, is, I want to say this is Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, which is probably one of my all-time favorite GBA games. I remember getting it for, I think, Christmas when I was really little on my Game Boy Advance and loved it. And saw this in the Book Off, and I was like, hey, 900 yen, that's once again a little under 6 bucks. Definitely want to pick that up. So definitely gonna be nice to have a GBA Kirby game along with the older Game Boy Kirby games that I have. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for today's video. Other than the games, I picked up some Pokemon cards. I'm not like a huge TCG collector, but just picked up some cool ones when I saw them at a shop. And then I got these Mega Charizard, Mega Venusaur, and Mega Blastoise figures at Bic Camera as well. They were pretty cheap, 792 yen, looked like they were on sale, and I thought they would just be cool to have, so I bought them. But yeah, really fun trip. Had a great time, man, and travel always gives you a ton of perspective. Had a ton of good food, and yeah, was super happy to be able to go, man. I don't know when I'll be in Japan next. It'll probably be a lot longer than 2 years, so I was pretty lucky to go back. But yeah, let me know what you think of these pickups, man. I was pretty happy with it. Did I overpay on some stuff? Yeah, probably, but at the end of the day, I don't want to spend all of my trip hunting down a better deal. It's like, hey, if I find something, pick it up and go and do other stuff. So yeah, as usual, appreciate you guys watching. Let me know the pickups you liked, or maybe some games you liked that you saw in the stores, and catch you soon with another video.